This is the story of the Everglades you were never taught. Chapter 1. A land older than America. Long before the United States existed, the Everglades was home to powerful indigenous cultures. The Calusa, the Tequesta, and later the Miccosukee and Seminole used the Everglades as both a refuge and a kingdom. The Calusa, sometimes called the Shell People, built massive structures from seashells, forming island mounds that functioned as homes, temples, and fortified towns. Some of these shell mounds still exist underwater today, hidden from modern explorers. The Everglades wasn't a swamp to them. It was a living, breathing world of freshwater rivers, coastal bays, and hunting grounds. They navigated the waters in dugout canoes, using channels that still exist today, though now overgrown and nearly impossible to follow. Their knowledge of the landscape was so advanced that early Spanish explorers said the Indigenous could disappear into the marsh as if swallowed by the earth. Chapter 2. The Arrival of Outsiders. When European explorers first reached the region, they considered the Everglades a worthless bog. Too thick to walk through, too shallow to sail, and too confusing to map. But that didn't stop them from trying. Over time, explorers, soldiers, and settlers pushed into the fringes of the Everglades, often meeting fierce resistance. For the Seminole people, the Everglades became a sanctuary. During the Seminole Wars, they used the terrain to evade U.S. troops, vanishing into the sawgrass in minutes. Soldiers feared the Everglades. The wildlife, the heat, the mud, the mosquitoes, all of it made the region nearly impossible to conquer. By the late 1800s, the Everglades was still largely unmapped and even less understood. Chapter 3. The Forgotten Fishing Villages. What many people don't know is that the Everglades once had small, remote fishing communities scattered across its coastal edges. These were built on chickees, wooden shelters raised above the swamp. Fishermen lived miles from civilization, catching mullet, snapper, and tarpon, selling their catches to passing boats. Some of these villages disappeared overnight after storms. Others were abandoned when the fishing industry collapsed. A few simply faded away as the tide rose and swallowed the land. Today, only old pilings, rusted tools, and half-buried anchors remain silent reminders of a way of life lost to nature and time. Yet some towns didn't disappear because of nature, but because of politics. During early drainage projects, certain communities were forcibly moved, their homes burned or dismantled. These histories are rarely mentioned today, but the land still carries their memory. Chapter 6. The Controversial Drainage Era. In the early 1900s, developers and politicians decided the Everglades should be reclaimed. They believed the swamp could become farmland, cities, or canals. Massive drainage projects began, cutting channels that forever altered the flow of water. Entire ecosystems collapsed. Wildlife populations plummeted. But most strikingly, the region's geography changed so drastically that old trails, canoe routes, and indigenous mounds were submerged or destroyed. Many locals say this is the period when the Everglades lost more history than any storm or war ever caused. Chapter 7. The Secret Military Projects. Few people know that parts of the Everglades were used by the U.S. military for secret training operations and experimental weapons testing in the mid-1900s. Hidden bunkers, abandoned buildings, and unexploded ordnance have been found in remote areas. Some of these locations are still restricted today, and their full history remains classified. Chapter 8. The Modern Threat and What Still Remains Hidden. Today, the Everglades faces new problems. Rising sea levels, disappearing freshwater, invasive species, shrinking habitats. But what's fading even faster is the memory of what this land once was. Beneath the water lie remnants of indigenous villages, outlaw settlements, fishing camps, and forgotten towns. Many have never been fully studied. Some haven't even been discovered. The Everglades reminds us that history isn't just written in books, it's written in the land itself. And much of that land is slowly disappearing. The Everglades is more than a swamp. It's a living archive of secrets, mysteries, and forgotten stories waiting to be uncovered. This was just the first entry into those hidden chapters. This is Wilderness Archives, and this is only the beginning.